If you want to live out your Van Helsing fantasies in Diablo Immortal, the Demon Hunter class is for you. I mean, God, really, what fantasy doesn't involve Hugh Jackman? Anyway, here is my class guide for the Demon Hunter in Diablo Immortal. This class guide series is designed to get you familiar with a class in Diablo Immortal, how you play them, how you level them up, and things that you should consider as you get better at the class. So how you play as a Demon Hunter is, it's really all about movement. You want to continue moving all the time while attacking. It's one of the only classes where you can actually use your primary attack while moving, so you should absolutely be leveraging that to keep moving all the time, kiting enemies away from you. Because you do have lower health compared to some of the other classes, and being a range class as well, you want to be at range as much as possible to avoid most of the damage that's coming towards you. So you don't want to be taking a lot of auto attacks from enemies. You basically will only want to take damage from, say, any of the bullet hell style attacks or the telegraphs. You want to avoid everything else, and obviously avoid those if you can as well. The main benefit to this class is the large AoE potential. We have heaps of really strong AoE attacks, and you can even buff some of them even further with some legendary pieces as well to make it even more AoE efficient and just deal tons of damage to enemies, especially in Elder Rifts. You can just group up all of the enemies and farm them all together. It makes this class super fun, and I really like the Demon Hunter in Diablo Immortal. Let's talk about the best skills for a Demon Hunter. Now, primarily you will be using crossbow shot as your main attack. You will unlock explosive shot, however it slows your movement down too much for it to be valuable to use, and crossbow shot is just a much better basic attack, so you will use that for your primary attack pretty much all of the time. There's a couple of abilities or skills that you're practically always going to use regardless of your build. The first of those is multi-shot. Now, multi-shot fires like a shotgun blast essentially out of your crossbow that would just deal damage to everything in front of you. You get 3 charges for this, so you can just spam it out 3 times. It does heaps of damage to everyone in front of you. It's a huge burst damage attack that's great to use, especially once you buff it with some of the legendary effects. Rain of Vengeance is next, and this will fire a massive volley of arrows to the ground area wherever you put it. This will deal damage to anything that's in that area effect over 4 seconds, and it's a great attack to combo with something like multi-shot for that burst damage potential. It's also valuable to have in any build, especially in PvE, where you're going to be dealing damage to a lot of dumb enemies that don't really move out the way of your big AoE damage dealers. The next skill is what I mostly use as my movement ability, and that is Strafe. Strafe will slow your overall movement, but it will put you in this weird phase state where you can phase through enemies, and you will damage all enemies around you as well while you're in this state. It will slowly consume like a channel bar, which will then recharge over time, but I really like this ability because it will allow you to phase through a lot of enemies or traps or anything. If you get stuck in things, you can use this to get out of the way or move in the battlefield, especially in boss fights. I use this a lot when there's, say, a health globe over in the distance, and I'll just like strafe over there and grab that, so I'm just constantly attacking the enemy while also getting my health back. The last couple of skills are really optional, and it's up to how you want to play, but the 2 options that I think are the absolute best to pick up is Sentry. Now, this will summon a turret in front of you for 30 seconds that will just constantly deal damage to the target. You can have 2 of these up at any one time, and there is also Daring Swing, which is like the only real movement ability that the Demon Hunter has. This will allow you to swing up in the air, and you will deal damage to any of the enemies that are below you when you do use this. It also has 2 casts, so if you're looking for more of a agile play style with maybe a bit of a more of escape that you can play with, then the Daring Swing is what you probably want to pick up. And then for my solo players out there, I really think the Sentry is the better option, because you can actually summon this and enemies will attack it rather than attacking you. So when you have these 2 turrets up, it will just take some of that aggro away from you when you're playing solo, and that's just really beneficial for a class like us that has a lot of low health. So having any way to increase your survivability and take some of that pressure off you is just super helpful to have. For your attributes and your gear, it can be a little hard here to really say exactly what pieces you need to go for, because all the gear is random. Obviously, the legendary pieces are essentially the same, but you never really know what you're going to get. However, there's a couple of things that you should always be looking out for. Your primary attribute as a Demon Hunter is Strength. This increases your damage and your combat rating. Your combat rating is essentially the calculations for all of your damage, and your damage is just your straight damage. Essentially, increasing your strength is the best way to increase your overall damage. So when you're looking at pieces of gear and deciding what you're going to pick up, the first thing you should look at is the actual damage number that that piece of gear has, and the second thing is the strength or the attributes that it is giving you. If it gives you strength, it's absolutely something you should consider. If it doesn't, then you should rethink about it. And the secondary stat is Fortitude, and Fortitude increases your armor, which is valuable, but the main thing here is armor penetration and combat rating. So your main 2 stats you want to look out for on all of your gear is Strength first and then Fortitude. Anything else is really optional, doesn't really matter. You can get some Vitality for health if you want, but realistically, realistically, if you're looking to increase your damage, strength, fortitude are the two main things that you want to look at. Also, if you jump into the settings as well, you can enable auto pickups. You don't have to look at all of the gear and pick it up individually. I think this is such a valuable thing to have, and that's why I'm mentioning it here. So absolutely turn on auto pickup so you don't have to wander around and actually click on everything as you pick them up. Gems are next. Now for your normal gems, there's two that you should consider. Tourmaline is the first normal gem you should pick up. This just gives you straight damage. There's nothing really else to say here. It just gives you damage. Good stuff. And next is Sapphire, and Sapphire gives you armor penetration, and it's the same thing as Fortitude. It kind of fits within that strength and fortitude attributes that we're looking for here. Sapphires give you armor pen, so if you've got a blue socket gem, then that's absolutely what you want to use. In terms of your legendary gems, it's when things get a little bit more complex. Ultimately, if you find a legendary gem and you don't have a legendary gem slotted already in that slot, chances are you should just slot it anyway, because it'll probably increase you combatability to some regard. But there's a couple of legendary gems that you should look out for while you're leveling. One of them being Everlasting Torment. Your critical hits inflict agony, dealing 10% base damage plus 122 every second for 6 seconds. Anytime that you can increase just the overall damage you do to targets without having to necessarily do anything, it's absolutely well worth having. The next is Berserker's Eye, and that'll just increase your overall damage you do by 5.5%. As you level this up, it'll become more. It does increase the damage you take by 5% as well, but realistically, we have low health anyway, and you want to avoid damage as much as possible, being a ranged class, so it's absolutely perfect for this kind of build. It's a really cheap gem as well that you can craft at the Apprentice Jeweler for a pretty low cost. You can grab this relatively early in the game and just increase your overall damage by a decent percentage as well. Chained Death is the last one that I'll specifically call out, and this increases damage done by your attacks by 1.5% per hit, up to a maximum of 4.5 with 3 targets. Because of a lot of our attacks are AoE and going to be hitting a lot of enemies all at once, this damage done will increase by a decent amount of percentage because we're going to be hitting lots of targets. So it's a great one to have, and it's also super cheap, just like Berserker's Eye. In order to craft, you can put this on a piece of gear relatively early on in the game. Let's talk leveling tips for the Demon Hunter. Now at level 10 in the free battle pass, you will get a legendary offhand weapon of your choice. Now here, I highly suggest that you take the Hungerer, as it will make your primary attacks from the crossbow shot shoot through enemies. So what that means is your crossbow shot won't stop at the target it hits, it'll penetrate through them and go through. Because all of the encounters in Diablo Immortal are like large amounts of grouped up enemies all standing next to each other, this is going to allow you to penetrate those attacks. That sounds weird. Penetrate those attacks so that you'll get extra damage because you're going to hit the targets behind them with your basic attack. It essentially just turns your basic attack into an AoE attack, and because most of your Demon Hunter kit is AoE based, it really has great synergy with just the overall feel of how we're going to play this class. You should also be upgrading your gear and your gems as much as possible as soon as it's available and that you can upgrade it, because you can quickly transfer them to any new pieces of gear that you get, your gems and all of the rank upgrades that you do get. So upgrade away, upgrade to get the attribute points up so you just have a better kit for yourself so you can go out and hunt all of the demons. Now as we get further into Diablo Immortal, I might have some proper build guides, but these class guides are just to get you into Diablo Immortal, get your feet wet, teach you how to play a class, and I'll be doing this for all of the different classes. If you're not sure what class to play, check out my class guide, and thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.